Good evening, and we are live. And welcome. I have got Crystal Castle on, but before we go to that, can I ask everybody if they can go onto my Facebook page and please like the page and share it? I'll be um, so happy about that. It's that we're trying to get to a certain number at the moment, and so we can get to that, we'd be everything will be okay with that. But anyway, thank you for all your support, guys. Too really appreciate it. Okay, so hi, Crystal. How are you?
I'm good, Steve. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Busy here. Really hot, and don't like that weather. Don't like it. But the trouble is, we can't moan, can't we? We can't moan when it's hot and everything. And it's lovely weather.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that aren't fortunate enough to be able to experience it. So sometimes it's easy to see the negative, and sometimes you just have to shift that to reframe it to.
Yeah, tell everybody a bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I teach mindfulness and meditation, and I work with people who are really stressed out and help them reduce stress in our lives by utilizing mindfulness and meditation. So, you can use these two things to create more peace and joy in your life.
Right. And what kind of people do you have? What kind of people do you have coming to you?
Mainly overworked, overworked people who spend their lives as people pleasers, people who just don't understand how to say no. People who are people pleasers that don't understand that they're people pleasers. Those are the ones that can't say no, and the ones that are always
Yeah,
doing things for everyone else. A lot of moms, because a lot of mothers are expected to do a lot. You're expected to be a mother, to be a spouse, to be a partner, to, sometimes work. So then you're working a full time job, and then you're taking care of kids, and you have a lot of stuff going on. And, you just don't understand how things get away from you, and you just get really stressed out because there's tons and tons of stuff that you're trying to take care of, and everyone wants more, more, more.
yeah. And that's the trouble in it when you've got children and, when the family's big. It's kind of like, you know, um, it's tough, isn't it? Tough going. And you get all stressed out and everything, don't you?
Oh, yeah, it's really easy, especially now that it's nice out. And lockdown restrictions are being lifted in some places, so you're under obligation to go to holiday parties and birthday parties and summer parties. And I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but here in the US, we a lot of the kids are out of school right now for the summer, so they've got 3 months off. So a lot
Right.
of parents are, really stressed out because now they have kids that they have to try and find childcare for or take care of for 3 months, especially if they were working from home. They had the time during the day when the kids were at school, and now they're trying to work and the kids are at home and they can't, it's really difficult to try and juggle. How am I going to get my obligation for work done, but then also, manage to, keep the kids entertained, or, so it can be really stressful.
Yeah, yeah. How did you get started, by the way? I know you told me before, but we get new people join us every day. How do you get started in the beginning? Was it something that came to you, you thinking, or was it just experience? Was it something that you experienced?
So I was an alcoholic, and I had what the drunks call a moment of clarity, where I realized that I needed to quit drinking. But I used alcohol as a crutch. It was a way for me to be able to numb the pain in my life and to be able to sleep at night, because I had a lot of trauma that I'd been dealing with, or actually I wasn't dealing with it. I was running from it basically, and
Mm.
self medicating with alcohol and food. And when I quit drinking, I still needed something, because I still had the thoughts and the feelings and the in whatever all the things that were bothering me. And so I just happened to stumble across mindfulness and meditation and thought, what the heck, why not try it? I didn't know anything about it. It wasn't anything that, I had ever really been taught or anything. And it really wasn't even, mainstream thing back then. Mindfulness, nobody was talking about it. Now everybody knows what mindfulness
Yeah,
is. I mean,
yeah.
it's like been on the cover of Time magazine, and lots of celebrities are talking about it, but at the time I had no idea. And so I started practicing mindfulness and meditation, and that was what enabled to me to be able to stay off of alcohol and to help me work through all of the traumatic experiences that I've been dealing with in a way that didn't require me to self medicate with drugs or alcohol or food or anything else.
Yeah, what was that like? What was it like when, in your time where you were kind of having kind of like drinking alcohol, the next minute you were kind of like self medicating, because I've done that, I've been there and, done it. And the trouble is, you always find that when you wake up in the morning, the problem's always there.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, the problem still exists. And you're just trying to numb the pain. You're trying to escape from reality. And that's what, alcohol, drugs, shopping addictions, sex addictions, um, phone addictions, screen time, these things, they're the worst for keeping us like occupied or preoccupied. So we're not, you know, having to deal with the reality of our life. And so, one of the hardest things that I've had to do and was really face all of the things that had happened to me and really accept that they had happened and learn how to let them go. It wasn't easy, and it's still not easy because I'm still like recovering memories and reliving traumatic experiences that I'm trying to get past and move forward from. But it has been the most liberating thing that I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. And the trouble is, so when you're in that position where you are kind of like trying to get over the pain and the situation that you're in, it is very difficult to get out of, because there's always like memories and the past that catch up with you, and everything else.
Yeah. It is hard. And, a lot of times we'll have things come up that trigger us and we don't even realize why we're being triggered. And so, something will happen and all of a sudden you'll get angry or you'll get scared or you'll be upset and you don't know why. And your first response is to lash out or to run or to, continue with the self medicating. And so, with mindfulness, the practice is that okay, you realize that you're being triggered and you're having this response to try and sort out what the issue is that is causing the trigger, that is causing you to have the response, whether it's anger or fear or anxiety, whatever. And so it takes a lot of practice to really dig deep and find the root cause of all of these issues. It's not fun
Are
by
there
any means.
are there any like mindfulness or meditation that people can do to kind of like to start healing themselves, or is it just kind of like just getting on with it?
Well, no, I mean, I wish I could say that just get over it because a lot of people will say it, just suck it up. I actually used to work with someone and she would say all the time, just suck it up. And it's like, I get sometimes you have to embrace the suck. That's actually a term that I believe it's Navy SEALs use. It's called embrace the suck because sometimes things suck, but you have to understand that it's going to suck and it's going to suck really bad for a really long time. And you have to accept that. And then once you start accepting that, then you can move forward. But for a while, it's really going to hurt. It's really going to be painful and it's really not going to be fun to deal with. So if you can't deal with the pain, because I think that's what a lot of people's issues is, they just don't want to deal with the pain. And so they medicate or they, just keep themselves so busy doing things or watching TV or whatever that they don't have to deal with the feelings or the thoughts or whatever. And I think part of the biggest problems that a lot of people had during the pandemic was a lot of the things that people used to do to keep themselves busy were closed to them. So you couldn't go to bars, you couldn't go hang out with your friends, you couldn't, basically people were stuck in isolation, and they didn't know how to deal with their thoughts and feelings. So alcohol consumption went through the roof.
Yeah,
Drug
yeah,
addiction went through the roof. Suicides. I mean, the number of suicides that people were reporting during the pandemic was just incredible. I mean, it was absolutely heartbreaking for me to see, but it was not surprising because a lot of people don't understand how to deal with their feelings.
yeah, yeah. It's so difficult, isn't it, when we're kind of like when we're low, we're in that, I just look at it like a being in a pit, and you're really low down, you're in that pit, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to get yourself back out again. There's no rope there, and you're just there, and you're just thinking, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this problem that I'm in? And it goes with like anything with drugs, or if we tried committing suicide, or it could be many other things. We one minute we could be low, and next minute we could either have a choice of either dying or getting on with our life.
Yeah. Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is, when we're low, when we're at our lowest point, we feel like, we're the only ones that are going through this.
Yeah,
And what we really should be doing is reaching out to people. And we always have this feeling like, I don't want to be a burden to, my partner. I
that's
don't want
it.
to be a
Yeah,
burden to my children. I don't want to be a burden to my friends. I don't want to bother them with my problems. They don't want to hear, whatever. But the thing is, most people have at one point or another, and probably more times than you would even think, gone through this, and they understand and they want to help, but they don't know that you need help. So if we don't reach out and ask for help, ask for support, or just ask for somebody to be there with us or for us, they won't know. People want to help, but they just don't know how. They don't know that, that that you need help. And being vulnerable and telling people that you have problems or that you're suffering is one of the hardest things that you can do, because we don't want to let people know, especially those mothers, right? They don't want people to know that they can't handle it all. They're supposed to be the ones who can take care of everything and then still look fresh and fabulous at the end of the day. And if they don't, then we have a tendency to think that people will think less of us because we can't do it all. And so we don't want to tell people that we're struggling because we don't want people to know that we can't do it all. So it's like a catch 22, right? We want to be able to get help, but we don't want people to know that we're struggling. So it's like, what do we do,
and also being weak. We don't want people seeing us
Right,
to be weak.
right.
Especially men, in it,
Oh,
because
yeah.
because men, they believe that they're kind of like all strong, and they can take anything. But to tell you the truth, I can't take everything, and sometimes I do get low, and I do get down. We all do, and I think sometimes we're just afraid to kind of like speak about it to other people.
Right, right. And it's kind of a really crappy thing that it's a societal problem, right? I mean, so you've got the norms, right, where women are supposed to do everything and take care of everyone, and men are supposed to be the big, strong, tough guys. You have to be a tough guy. You have to be a tough guy. You can't be emotional, because if you're emotional, that's weakness. And if that's, you're showing weakness, then, I mean, back in the caveman days, sure, weakness was a huge problem. When food was scarce and you had to fight off saber-toothed tigers and like run away from dinosaurs. Sure, that was, you didn't want to be weak, but those days have long passed us. And we're driving around in cars that are running on dead dinosaur juice. So it's like we don't really have to worry about that issue right now. So we kind of need to really work on, especially parents who have children, or, people who have children in their lives, like letting them understand and letting them know that feelings are okay and emotions are, we're emotional creatures. We
Yeah.
can't help, feeling emotions, being sad, being upset, and once we can really get to the point where we accept emotions and feelings in ourselves and in others, I think, we're really going to have a lot of problems as a society.
Yeah, yeah, it's true, isn't it? Society, there's a lot of stigma out there, and society doesn't allow us to show the bad side of us, or when we're sad, or because we've got to be strong for everybody else. Um,
Right.
in your sort of work, um, when clients do come to you and they're feeling that that there's no one else to turn to, or they're sad, and do you do any like kind of like Reiki or any exercise or anything?
So one thing that I like to tell people to do when you're feeling really low, and it's really difficult for a lot of people because when you're feeling really low, sometimes you really just have zero motivation to do anything.
Mm,
But do exercise. So exercise is an immediate, like you get an immediate rush of endorphins, and so it can help you really, really quickly to feel better.
mm, yeah. And with the exercise, then what happens if someone doesn't want to do exercise?
So if they don't want to do exercise, they can practice deep breathing. Spending time just focusing on their breath, closing their eyes, and doing what's called circular breathing. So you breathe in, and then hold your breath, and then breathe out, and then while you're doing it, you count. So you breathe in to the count of 5, hold your breath, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then breathe out and
Yeah,
count 5 while you're breathing out. So, and you're just focusing on counting, breathing in, counting, holding, counting, breathing out, counting. So that, because you're focusing on your breath, you're not able to focus on the problems that are, bothering you.
what do you think about? I've been hearing a lot about being in the moment, and a lot of coaches have been mentioning that lately. What do you think about that, about being in the moment?
Yeah, and that's what mindfulness does. I mean, mindfulness takes you from there, wherever there is, whether it's in the past or in the future, and it brings you here to the present moment, right? So when you're focusing on your breathing, right, you're counting your breaths, you are here right now. If you're exercising, if you're smart, you're paying attention to what you're doing so that you don't hurt yourself. You're
Yeah, yeah,
you're running, and so you're paying attention to where you are so you don't get hit by a car, or whatever. You don't run into anything, or the dog that's running down the street doesn't come after you, so you're paying attention. If you're doing any physical exercises with like weights or whatever, you're paying attention to making sure that you're using the right size weight, that you're doing the movement the correct way. So you're trying, so that actually brings you to the present moment. And doing things like whatever hobbies. I actually just got stuff to start crocheting. And so when you're doing stuff like this, like I have to pay attention, because if I'm not paying attention, if I'm not counting how many, things I'm doing, if I'm not stopping where I'm supposed to and then turning, then it's going to be all messed up and wonky. So, doing something like crocheting or knitting or, gardening or coloring or, making music, dancing, singing, you have to pay attention. So if you're singing a song, you're paying attention to the words. So you're here right now. You're not lost in your head, you're not off in space. So trying to get into something that will keep you present and focused right here right now will keep you out of the past and out of the future, and right here, where right here is all that matters, right? We just finished talking a couple seconds ago. Those seconds are gone, like we can't get them back. And tomorrow is never guaranteed for anybody. The next 5 minutes aren't guaranteed for anybody. So paying attention to this moment right here, right now, and the people that are around you is what is truly important.
yeah. And that's true. That you never know what's going to happen. Um, anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I love having you on because it does help a lot of people, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and have a good day. And I'm gonna go to bed, and because I need to. But you take care. Have a brilliant day over there, and don't get too hot.
Yeah, you take care. Try and cool off.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I've got around about 3 fans here at the moment. So there you go. Anyway, okay. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.
Bye.